Hi, I'm Dr. Abidhan Shah, and I'm excited and honored to become one of the newest featured leaders on Pray.com. It's a privilege to be part of a platform dedicated to encouraging and strengthening people in their faith. Our mission at Clearview Church is to lead all peoples into a life-changing, ever-growing relationship with Jesus Christ. And so, I'll be on Pray.com sharing biblical insights, devotionals, and messages that I hope will inspire and challenge you to live out your faith with confidence. Whether you're seeking wisdom, encouragement, or a deeper understanding of Scripture, I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Pray.com. Download the Pray.com app right now and join this incredible community of believers with me. Together, we will grow closer to God and strengthen one another through His Word. And don't forget to support Pray.com by sharing it with your friends and family.
You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Abidhan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis, and we are here in the Clearview Today studio with Dr. Abidhan Shah, who's a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, professor at Carolina University, author, full-time pastor, and the host of today's show. Dr. Shah, welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
It's
good to see you guys as well.
That's
Happy
right.
Monday.
Happy Monday.
Amen. Verse of the day is coming to us from John chapter 3 and verse 31. He who comes from above is above all. He who is of the earth is earthly and speaks of the earth. He who comes from heaven is above all.
It seems pretty straightforward, but
Yeah.
like, if you're from Earth, you're gonna speak like you're from Earth.
Right.
If you're from heaven, you're gonna speak like
If
you're
you want
from
to
heaven.
talk wise, man, you can talk wise. But if you want to talk foolish and earthly, you can talk
You
foolish.
can talk foolish and earthly.
The context in which those words were spoken, they were spoken by John the Baptist. So when they came to John and said, the one whom you baptized is baptizing more people than you, John could have been protective over his little enterprise and said, oh, wait a minute, he's baptizing more than me. Now, I don't know. I was here before him. He should have checked with me first. None of that. To the contrary, what a great testimony. He says, I am not the Christ, but I have been sent before him.
Right.
And then he talks about he who has the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. What a spirit of humility and focus.
That's right.
No distraction there. He's like, no, I'm not going to be, chasing him down to figure out why is he doing more. I know why I'm here.
Right.
And then he says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And then he says what he says. He who comes from above is above all.
That's
means
right.
He came from God. He is God in flesh. He is my boss.
Like imagine Jesus himself coming to visit our church and us like coming to be like
wait, you have to get permission.
Yeah, like or just being like coming to say, hey, he's taking all the people out. They want to go with him more than with you.
No, Jesus, let me talk to you about this.
Let's have a conversation.
It's like I understand.
You just got here.
Right, and this is, you are coming to another I'm a pastor, you know that, right? Like this is my church.
This is my domain.
You can have your domain, but this is mine.
I love that though, because it's like every teacher, every scholar, anybody who's ever lived, it's all rooted in like human understanding. You know what I mean? It's my understanding. But this is like you said, this is God you're talking about. And so this is just like one of the ways I think that Scripture shows us how unique Jesus actually is.
Yeah.
Right. And how we need to submit to him. And that's what John the Baptist did.
Yeah.
And Jesus sort of not really returned the favor, but he returned the compliment when he said, there's no one born of woman greater than John the Baptist.
Right, right.
He is the man.
Yeah.
Because he is heralding or going before me, and I am God in flesh.
That's right. Gentlemen, how was y'all's weekends? I got something I wanna kind of gripe about. Have y'all anybody go to the movies?
Go for it.
Well, I was gonna say, have you seen the Snow White, the new Snow White remake?
I know. I didn't even know there was one.
Really?
Don't
No.
worry about going to watch it.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't actually seen it, but
You haven't seen any of the
I've seen some of like the trailers and like the interviews and stuff. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You haven't seen any of like the online drama. So there's
No.
so you know
I'm usually out of it.
you're doing actual work. It's fair enough.
No, that's not what I meant.
I know what you mean. I'm just saying. I'm just joking. But okay. So you know how Disney has been remaking all their movies.
Yeah, I knew about that.
Like they've been remaking all the live action stuff. I don't think it's an understatement to say people don't like it.
Oh,
They don't like it.
Okay.
Like even have y'all seen any of the Disney remakes?
Yeah, I've seen some. I saw Little Mermaid. I've seen Beauty and the Beast.
Genuinely
I've seen
speaking.
Aladdin.
Not just hopping on the train. Genuinely, do you like any of them better than the originals?
No.
Okay.
No, I think they're fine.
Right.
I think, you know, for what they are, they're decent. Little Mermaid was pretty good. But better than the originals? No. Goodness, no.
Right. So like they're spending hundreds of millions to make something that people really don't want. Nobody asked for. And so now with Snow White, I think with Little Mermaid, the backlash was pretty strong because what was the name? Halle Berry or something like that. It wasn't Halle Berry, but it was Halle Berry. Yeah. Like she was like, the Little Mermaid is black, all right, and so people were like, oh, well, I don't like that, but everybody was like, just leave it alone. She's fine. She did a good job.
She's a mermaid.
yes.
So now, and if Ariel's black, it doesn't really change the story.
No.
So it's
Right.
all good.
That's right.
So then they announced with Snow White. Snow White is we're gonna cast a Latina actress.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, fine. We're not really gonna push back on that, even though her being white is pretty central to the plot. Her
Right.
name is Snow White, and she's the fairest of them all. Like that's the whole thing.
Well,
but
fair,
it's like,
but
it's
the
like,
story kind of, it means beautiful. So
Yeah.
sure. And so everyone was like, all right, that's
still
fine.
is okay.
It's
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
But then the woman, the actress, what is
This
her name?
part.
Rachel like Zegler.
Yeah.
She started like a year ago. She was like, we're completely remaking it because the original movie, let's just be honest, is trash.
Oh,
And we were like,
of the people that have played live action Disney princesses, they have all spoken well of the original source material and of their character. She is the first person who has bashed the original and trashed her character's kind of whole persona.
so Snow White
Oh.
was the first ever animated feature film. It's a milestone
Yeah.
of like filming, like not even just animation, just of filmmaking. It is a culturally significant movie. As she came out, it was like, hey guys, the original that we're remaking, the original is trash because the prince is creepy, and this version of Snow White is going to be all about female empowerment. It's about Snow White becoming the leader that she knows she can be.
Oh.
And everyone was like, we don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want
No one wants that movie.
We don't want the movie to begin with, but nobody wants a Snow White who's like becoming a leader in like female empowerment. So
Wow.
then it gets even worse.
Right.
You know who Peter Dinklage is?
No.
So he's an actor with dwarfism.
Okay.
He was in
You remember the movie Elf?
Yes.
He's
was
the
the boss.
author that they bring in.
okay.
Miles Finch.
Okay.
remember he fights Will Ferrell on the table. He like kicks
I
Will Ferrell's
think
butt.
so, yes.
So okay, he criticized the seven. This is a whole mess. This whole thing is a mess. He criticized the seven dwarfs in the original movie, saying that's insensitive to people who have dwarfism. So Disney said, all right, we're not gonna do any dwarfs. They're not gonna be dwarfs. They're just gonna be like people with like magical abilities.
Oh.
Then other actors who are dwarfs said, hey, we could have used that role. We could have used that paycheck. This is serious.
Oh.
They were like, don't listen to him.
I haven't heard this part.
Yes, there was a bunch of actors who have dwarfism that was like, that's our paycheck.
That could have been our paycheck.
That could have been us. We could have had that representation. So
Oh
now
my
it's like everybody who's
gracious.
trying to be woke is tearing each other apart.
That's the whole point. You know, this whole movement has gone off
Yeah.
the deep end.
Yeah.
You know, when they start doing this, because after a while, it's not about helping people and lifting people up. This is about, you know, being a voice or something, and then it goes crazy.
So opening weekend, which was this past weekend,
Right.
was a disaster. I'm talking about like I think people have said this about a lot of Disney's movies, but like this one was like all-time low.
Right.
So Rachel Zegler came out, and instead of saying, hey guys, I think we pushed it a little too far, we mishandled the press, she said, no, the fans are stupid and they are racist.
Oh. So she doubled down on it.
She doubled down.
That's what you do
She
when
said
your movie is struggling for ratings. Insult the fans.
The movie is obviously good. It's obvious.
Yeah.
So everybody who's saying this, which is
Ridiculous.
most of America, are stupid and they're racist.
Ridiculous.
Across the world right now, especially in America, a lot of these irrational movements are sort of being rolling back. So somebody needs to inform her and say, you know,
You better hop on the
we
train.
were on on the edge of the cliff, about to go over, but we have been given an opportunity to kind of come on back. So maybe you need to join the movement and come on back.
We're moving back, and if you keep moving forward, no one's going to be there to pull you back.
Yeah,
I would be
maybe you
really-
just need to come on back.
Yeah, I would be really interested to see what Disney looks like 5 years from now, because I haven't heard a single good thing about them
That's a great point.
at all. Like
Yeah.
like they've ruined Star Wars.
Yeah.
They ruined they people say they ruined Marvel. They ruined pretty much Fox, like but now they're ruining their own stuff. It's like it wasn't enough for them to buy
Right.
everybody else's property.
Stay in your lane.
Right. I don't know, man. But anyway, I just didn't know if you guys had seen Snow White or had any interest in.
I have not, and I will not.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to see Snow White like doing karate flips and
It
fighting.
literally only got 1.6 stars on IMDb, and that's lower than Dragon Ball Evolution.
Are you serious?
Yes. Dragon Ball got 2.7.
Dragon Ball Evolution. Dragon Ball Evolution, for those who don't know,
was a joke.
It was a joke. Like anybody who like I love Dragon Ball growing up, and when I went to saw that movie, I was like, I don't think I like Dragon Ball anymore.
I want to recant my childhood.
Dragon Ball Evolution held the record for being like the worst rated movie of
And
all
now it
time.
has been, what is the opposite of surpassed? Like descended beyond.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I feel like we got to go to a break. I need to take a break. I didn't know it
Man.
got that bad.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with more Clearview Today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Abidhan Shah, lead pastor at Clearview Church and host of the Clearview Today show. Every day we bring you bold, biblical truth to help you navigate life with clarity and confidence. We tackle the tough questions, dive deep into God's Word, and bring a fresh perspective on faith, culture, and the world around us. But none of this would be possible without the faithful support of listeners like you. When you give to Clearview Today, you're not just supporting a radio show, you're investing in a gospel-driven mission to share the truth of Jesus Christ without compromise. Your financial partnership helps us stay on the air, expand our reach, and continue creating content that encourages, equips, and transforms lives. Would you prayerfully consider supporting Clearview Today? No gift is too small, and every dollar goes directly towards furthering the message of hope and truth in Christ. To give, just follow the link in the description below and click the Give button. You can make a one-time donation or become a monthly partner. Whatever God lays on your heart, thank you for standing with us in this ministry. Together, we can make Christ visible.
Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abidhan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ.
That's right. Dr. Shah, today's check-in is coming to us from a very concerned mom, Lisa from North Carolina. That might be my mom. Hey, Mom. It's not my mom because she doesn't talk good here. Hi, Dr. Shah. My name is Lisa, and I'm a mom of 2 kids, ages 11 and 17.
Okay, so not your mom.
Not my mom at all. Not my mom. My daughter, who is always outgoing, has been struggling in social situations and seems anxious all the time. My son, who is always very confident and outgoing, but these past few years he's been isolating himself in his room. Both of their grades have dropped. I've talked to both my kids, and my son says that he feels dumb these days. I'm really worried that the way schools and businesses handled the pandemic has affected my children because they haven't been the same since. I'm also worried that maybe I didn't handle it best. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Sincerely, a worried mom.
Wow.
That's tough.
I think she is right, and she has every reason to be worried because ever since this pandemic thing began in 2020, we said it, and many others also said that this is going to have a lasting impact on our young population. Because when you are living in a state of fear and then you're being bombarded by social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or whatever, you're constantly being told to stay safe and don't come out and get your shot or whatever. That creates a sense of fear among especially the young who are not able to discern between, is that really true or is that wrong? And then to see adults who are going overboard with this pandemic thing, and then being isolated from their peers. And some of them were isolated at some very critical years
Yes.
of their lives. It has made a difference, and it will continue to impact us for, I believe, decades to come.
Yeah, you can't upend people's lives like that and then expect everything to go back to normal and then hide behind the value of, well, we're just keeping everyone safe. Who was it? Was it Nicholas who missed his senior year, his graduation because, or was it?
No, not quite. But there were some others who did.
There were others in our church who they just genuinely
didn't have a graduation.
They didn't have their graduation. They didn't have senior year. Everything was sort of, I don't even want to say stitched, like slapped together. It just didn't exist.
It just wasn't.
It wasn't there.
Evie, I mean, obviously Evie wasn't a senior, but she didn't have a kindergarten graduation that year.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty clear. There was a study recently. There was like a Gallup poll.
The Gallup
maybe we can
study,
link it.
came out, and maybe you guys can kind of read some of the stats on it for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because according to this study, this is on March the 13th, 2025, is titled "Pandemic Hurt Children's Social Skills, Mental Health Most." And then the subtitle says, "Parents report fewer negative effects on children's physical health and math, reading, and science skills."
Yeah.
So social skills and mental health were gravely impacted.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's pretty clear that all this stuff was impacted. I think there's some charts. If we can throw those charts up on the screen, you can kind of see it. There was reports from the parents of the COVID-19 effect on their kids. And so you can see it says the question they were asked was, for those of you who can't see it, who are just listening, it says, what effect has the coronavirus pandemic had on your child in each of the following areas: positive, negative, or no effect? So look at like social skills development. 47% of parents said, yeah, it 100% has affected my kids' development negatively. Mental health, 52%. Only 6. I don't know who the 6% of parents are that said, yeah, the pandemic helped my kids' mental health, but 52% of people said no. It absolutely. Look at all the yellow. It's so much overwhelming negativity.
Yeah.
Math. 56% of parents said, yeah, it's negatively impacted my kids' math. 59% said it impacted my kids' reading negatively. Science, 61%. Physical health, 69% of parents said that because of the pandemic, my kids
because they are sort of stuck indoors.
Yeah.
And so they cannot really interact and do things. Many of us sort of lived our lives normally. I mean, we were working out in our homes.
Right.
We came out here to the church parking lot and we would jog around.
Yeah, that's right.
Things like that. But other kids were not able to do those things.
But it's funny because previously released findings said that it was much less. Like when it was going on, people were saying, no, it's all fine. It's all good. Like, yeah, it's different, but we'll weather, we'll persevere. But
we'll
now
come together and do this.
Right.
Well, you cannot come together.
Yeah.
Right.
How are you gonna band together and stand strong when you have to stay separate from one another?
Right.
But 5 years later, everyone is saying, no, this actually kind of hurt us.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. And I know, Dr. Shah, I'm sure you feel this way too. It's frustrating to be in the middle of it in 2020 saying, hey guys, don't do this. Don't overcorrect. Don't go down this road because it's going to hurt you in the future.
Right.
And everybody be like, no. But then you have polls like this where like, oh, it did hurt us.
It did hurt us.
Yeah.
And you can see the impact of that. And so I would say, yes, those formative years, and we're talking about from, the early toddler years to about the preteen years, are very detrimental to a child's future and growth.
Yes.
And those are the years where they learn social skills. Those are the years they learn reasoning skills. They learn how to see their world. And this is the time period where, they were told, stay away. You may die. Yeah. People are dying everywhere. What's wrong with you? You need to stay away.
Yeah.
And so now that fear has come in, and sometime back we talked about generations, the various generations. I think the series we did was called
it's called Generation.
Generation, yeah. And we looked at these various generations and the traits they exhibited. Nobody realized that there was going to be a generation that would be living in fear and anxiety and stress.
Yeah, true.
And now that and those kids who were, let's say, 5 back in 2020 are, 10 today? And the kids who were, let's say, 7 back in 2021 are today?
They'd be 12.
Yeah. It's too young to tell.
Yeah.
Because I think there's more impact coming.
Great point. And if you look at this, if you pull up that other chart, it shows that the most negative impact is in that middle, middle school.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
everything, because like you
true.
said, they're way too young to tell. But those who were in middle school, 6th to 8th grade, you can see that 31%, 28, 22, 24, like all of the highest affected kids were in that 6th to 8th grade.
Well, here's the
Right.
thing. Like, we talk about kids' development. You talked about this in the Generation series, but
Right.
you have those toddler years where it feels like your kids are learning something new every day, and they're developing these different physical skills. They're developing reasoning and kind of logic. And the only other time period in our lives that even comes close to that is in the teenage years. Is as your kids are growing, as they go through puberty, as they begin to transition from being a kid to an adult, and that is the time when, for many kids, they're learning the social interactions. They're learning how to interact with other people. They're learning how to carry themselves in a conversation. And to completely shut off every opportunity for them to exercise those social skills, we're seeing that now. Those middle schoolers in the pandemic, they are now those juniors and seniors and college freshmen
Right.
who are riddled with anxiety, who are struggling to hold together a job or a class schedule, and who are having a hard time forming relationships because when they were supposed to be learning those skills, they were isolated.
And just for the sake of like playing devil's advocate, because I know there's going to be people who are like, but these are parents, and a lot of parents they don't get it, they don't understand. A lot of this data is coming from a government data tracking company called the Nation's Report Card. Like these numbers that we're seeing are not just parents' anecdotes. This is government data tracking for students' performances, and almost every single report is coming out to say like, yeah, math is kind of there, but reading and social skills are way below pre-pandemic levels. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess it's sort of irrefutable. It's the own government, like our own government is saying, yeah, things aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that now under the Trump administration, some of these things are being said and said out loud.
Right. So you can say,
We're
look,
admitting.
he's the president. You think that's what's happening?
No, I think it's finally a lot of truth is being told across
I see
our
what
nation.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, what should have been said years ago is finally being said now.
Right, or at least 2-3 years ago now it's being said.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for President Trump because of his leadership. People think it doesn't matter who's the president. No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
A lot of things begin to straighten out. And one of these things, of course, is this stat about our children. You know, in that series called Generations, I mentioned, I kind of introduced people to the Strauss-Howe theory of generations. So Bill Strauss and Neil Howe wrote a book called Generations, The History of America's Future, 1584 to 2069. It's a great book. I'm not saying it's a perfect book. It has its weaknesses, and it has, some places you're a little hesitant to really, accept some of their theories, and it's part of that is I want to mention. But in this research, they looked at generations in a 4-stage cycle, and where each generation lasts about 20 to 25 years to a total of 80 to 90 years, known as the Secellum. Secellum is simply century. Okay, so there are 4-stage cycle. Each generation lasts about 20 to 25 years, a total of 80 to 90 years as a Secellum. Each generation has a turning or a change in society and culture. The generation that is at its height in the cycle is the archetype of that cycle. And altogether, there are 4 turnings in a generational cycle. I know that's a lot coming at you if you are not aware of the Strauss-Howe theory of generations, but it's worth studying because you are able to see why people do what they do. You are able to make some sense out of behaviors.
I think what really helped me was the way that you started plugging Bible characters in. Like we specifically went with Samuel, then Saul, then David, and you're like, man, this more or less lines up perfectly. Jonathan, like all of it, like it starts to, and when you start to see it, you start to make sense. Well, you got to think Saul is in this category, he's in this, so he's looking at the generation that came before. David is looking at the generation that came before, and all this stuff starts to make sense. Why, like you said, why people do the things that they do.
Right, and so every 80 years or so, there is a 4th turning of generations in history. And at the 4th turning, there is a crisis that destroys the social order and creates a new order. And interestingly, that crisis happened, the latest crisis was the pandemic. And so with that, you have these cycles and these stages and different generations doing different things. So Gen Z, who were kind of right in the mix of this cycle, this crisis, definitely impacted.
Oh yeah.
And Generation Alpha, that's a generation coming after, was sort of impacted, but not quite as much.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're going to see is that Gen Z, the later Gen Z, like Nicholas and others are sort of the earlier Gen Zs. The later Gen Zs will be impacted by the pandemic.
Yeah.
Generation Alpha, maybe some of the ones there, the early Generation Alpha may also be impacted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really the ones coming afterwards who will be able to overcome the effects of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So if they were like I think your son, John, who is right now, Gavin is what, 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He may not be as impacted by the pandemic.
Right.
Because he was born in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
What year? 2021? 2020, right. 2020. So he was a baby. There's not much impact. 2021, he was 1 year old.
Right.
Still a baby.
Yeah.
2022, he was
2 years
2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe now he is seeing what's going on, but it's a little too late for him to really feel the 2020, 2021 shutdowns.
Right. He will never, but he also will never know a world pre-shutdown. You know what I mean?
Right.
He at least we know, like, okay, it wasn't always like this. He will never know that.
Yeah.
He'll always, and thankfully, like you said, thanks to the leadership that we have in place right now, we're not seeing at least overt effects of it. It's all kind of still catching up with us, and it's still kind of psychological and mental health, all that stuff. But he won't know anything that's different.
Well, it shows the importance of, just like you were saying, Dr. Shah, those years they can be detrimental to a kid, and it's largely to do with how parents and adults in their lives help them navigate those difficulties. I mean, I look at our kids, those who were old enough to remember what was happening in 2020 and 2021 compared to other peers that they have. And they are very different in some of their approaches to life and some of their thoughts and feelings about certain things. Were they affected? Sure. But the levels of the effect, I think, were drastically different than people who maybe bought into the lie that was being spread.
And I think it was frustrating for me to see this because I remember you standing from the pulpit and all of us really saying, hey guys, we're going to weather this. This is fine. Don't go down this road of fear. Don't go down this road of self-isolation and giving in to what's being asked of you and all this stuff. And people weren't appreciative at the time. They weren't ready to, and I don't mean appreciative like grateful. I just mean they weren't even willing to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm being fed something. I'm being told something. I'm going to feed into it. But then I'm going to be upset 5 years later when everyone's suffering from it.
Right.
And I think to me that's kind of frustrating.
And the suffering is not as easily seen at first glance, but is deeper and is far more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think suffering means that, hey, they went through the pandemic, oh, look at him, he's over there curled up in a
like a fetal position.
Fetal position.
Sucking his thumb.
That's not what's going to be the impact.
Right.
The impact will be the way they perceive life, the way they face problems, the way they handle stressful situations.
Mm-hmm.
That's deeper and not easily seen. That is what you need to worry about more than, he's not in a fetal position over there. Well, he's fine. We're fine. We are very resilient people. Human beings are resilient. Children are resilient. The real impact is what is happening below the surface.
If that's the case, do you fear that, not do you fear, but like is a concern, a legitimate concern that you won't even see that manifest until much later in life?
Yes.
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 That's why you said decades is when we'll be.
Is it too late to change it by then? Because once you're in your 20s, 30s, I mean, you can change, but it's much harder.
It's difficult. But I think it doesn't have to be irreparable. So formative years are detrimental, but they don't have to be irreparable.
Gotcha.
But certain steps have to be taken, which means you have to acknowledge that what happened 4 years ago was not right.
Right.
What happened to control our society and to feed us with fear and to buy into everything on social media was wrong, and for adults to promote and to cater into these fears was not right. So even though they're not doing that today, what they did back then is impactful and will be impactful for years and years and years to come. We have to acknowledge that. If you're going to repair this, you have to acknowledge what happened was bad. If you're going to just go with, hey, we're all forgotten about the pandemic. It's, you know what? That's yesterday's news. We moved past that. We're in a different place, man. Now it's a different world. And hey, look, if they try to shut us down today, people are going to be upset. It doesn't matter what you say about today. It's what you did back then. And if back then you bought into it, one big step to repairing that damage is to acknowledge that that was wrong. That was not right.
So someone like Lisa, who's writing into the show and saying, I think maybe I didn't handle this right, you would say, confirm that.
Acknowledge that. And maybe even talk to your kids and say, hey, you know what happened? They may even brush you off and say, well, we don't even know. I can't even remember that. Maybe still have the conversation and say, you know what happened back then? We did not know that we were under some psychological warfare, right? And that people are being told this, and also maybe teach them. TikTok is not real.
That's right. That is right.
That's not
Golly,
real life.
man. That should be an episode all its own.
Yeah.
TikTok is not real.
It's not
so
real.
So what you saw and heard and all these people talking about it as if they were experts and listened to, that is not real. In fact, much of the stuff that is on there is not real.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
think there needs to be a pop-up notification as you open the app.
Yeah, I know. This isn't real.
This, what you are viewing now is fantasy.
We don't
Please
know
treat it
what
as
we're
such.
talking about.
Yeah. Man, it's so good for us. Lisa, I hope that was helpful for you. Write in and let us know how you're taking these episodes. 252-582-5028. Make sure you join us next time, same station. We're going to be diving into another great topic here on the Clearview Today Show.
And write back in once you talk to your kids. I would love to get a follow-up on this.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
really love to get a follow-up on that.
Thanks again to our sponsors for making today's episode possible. And don't forget that you can support us by subscribing to the show on iTunes if you want to re-listen or share it with a friend. And you can always support us financially at clearviewtodayshow.com. John, anything you want to leave our listeners with today?
Same as always, Dr. Shah is a featured leader on pray.com. Make sure you go follow him. You can also give to the ministry right there on that website. Other than that, have a great day. Thanks for listening to the Clearview Today Show.
We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.